everybody's up. Now we need some coffee. So this is how we make coffee at camp, and I'll show you how to do that. We use a percolator. You can do it on the campfire, it just takes a lot longer. So first thing you're gonna do, there are 2 notches, and you're gonna fill in water to that second notch there. Just add a little extra. So now we're gonna just bring it to a boil, and then I'll show you how we're gonna percolate it with hot water. Boil. Here's where we will put this in once it's boiling. So you want to have, we have a burr grinder at home, so we can basically tell it if we want it ground really fine or if we want it ground more coarse. So if you do use a percolator at camp, you want it more coarse, because if it's fine, it's going to seep through these holes, and then you're going to get coffee grounds in your coffee. So we do about a tablespoon of coffee for every cup. So we're going to dump this in here. And you can see it's pretty coarsely ground. There's a lot of big chunks in there, so those shouldn't seep through the little holes. So we're just going to kind of even that out. And then we're going to set this on top. And then once the water is boiling, we're going to set this in there. And I also just want to mention something. I'm sure some of you are probably like, man, you guys got a beautiful fire. Why don't you just cook coffee on the fire? Cook with the fire and the heat escapes everywhere, and it takes a lot longer to boil. This was probably on here for 2.5 minutes, and it's already got a rolling boil. If you did it on the grate, it would take probably 10 to 15. And especially when you're at a campsite like this, there's not a lot of wood laying around that we can saw, so then you have to buy all the wood, and that ends up getting expensive. So, you know, you get one of these camp cooks. Those propane tanks are like $4, and it's much quicker, much more efficient, and we're at a ridiculously rolling boil much quicker than we would on a fire. Now with that being said, we are going to cook some pudgy pies on there, but so you see that nice rolling boil, we're just going to take it off just so we can, okay, and we're going to just drop it in here, okay, and then basically the water is going to boil up through here, and then you'll see the color of it in the top, and then go back down. And when we see, this will probably take 7 minutes and 12 seconds roughly. But as soon as we see water up here, and you can turn the heat down to medium, but you can see the water coming up here, and it's still clear. So we just obviously put it on, so this is percolating. Okay, so when this water is the color of the coffee that we want to drink, again, you can kind of alter it depending on how flavorful you want it. If you like lighter coffee, as soon as that starts to get a coffee color, you can take it off. If you want dark and rich, leave it on there so that looks really black and dark. And so now we just wait, but this is the last step of how you percolate camp coffee. It's been on for about 7 minutes. If you look at the top, the water's coming out. Every single pump has coffee color, and it's probably about a medium color, and the coffee will come out a lot darker than that when you actually pour it out. And you also want to be careful. You can burn the coffee, and it gives it a really bitter taste if you use a percolator, because it's on constant heat. So I think that looks pretty good. We're going to turn off the burner. I'm going to set it over here, and it'll still percolate here for a second, and then it should be drinkable right away. Because the coffee grounds are up, you can leave it sit in here. So for a French press, for example, you would want to pour all of the coffee in cups, and you don't want to let the coffee sit in there, because then it'll keep seeping and brewing, and then it'll make it probably stronger than you want. But because the beans are actually sitting above the water, this is something where we can pour a cup, leave it here, pour a cup, leave it here, and we can just drink it at our own pace. So this is a Stanley percolator. It's specifically for camping. It has a really awesome rubber handle right here so I can just grab it. And what a lot of percolators don't have, this little clasp here, because a lot of times this isn't connected to the pot, and then when you pull it off, it makes it really hard. Or when you pour, this whole top comes off and then a whole shitload of coffee comes out and you ruin your cup of coffee. So this is a really solid camp percolator. So then if we give it a pour, really great color. We'll set it there, and we have coffee and we have our campfire.